the Aam Aadmi Party, where there's a whispered suggestion that Arvind Kejriwal has actually jeopardized the careers of his colleagues because by not taking responsibility of a single portfolio, he did not have to sign off on a single scrap of paper. But the enforcement directorate has actually called him the kingpin, the main conspirator. How do you defend yourselves against the meat of the charges? You could make the argument that the ED is selective. You could make the argument that the ED doesn't act against the BJP, but that doesn't quite answer what's at the heart of these charges. How do you respond, Jasmine Shah?
Thank you, Barkha, for having me on your show. See, it's understandable if a BJP spokesperson gives statements and charges other opposition parties of corruption. But if ED also is going to restrict itself by calling names and issuing press statements and thinks that that can pass off for a true investigation, then it's very clear that ED is acting like nothing else but a political wing of the BJP. Now, this matter of the so-called Delhi liquor scam, which we've been calling it as a fake case, has been going on for the past 2 years. We are not talking in the first year or the first month of this investigation beginning. For the past 2 years, more than 1,000 witnesses have been summoned. 500 raids have been carried out. Almost all the ministers and their houses and their offices have been raided. Yet not a single piece of recovery has been made. Not a single rupee of ill-gotten wealth has been recovered. Not a single piece of solid evidence has been recovered. So then the question is, how is ED concocting this entire so-called scam? The entire scam, the basis of this entire so-called scam, Barkha, is statements that are given by certain approvers. And all of these statements also follow a very interesting pattern. Many of these people who were raided or made as accused, they first issue the first statement, second statement saying that there is nothing that has come to our knowledge, everything is fine. Suddenly then they are arrested, they are put in jail for many months, and then they turn into approvers, and then they suddenly recollect things which are completely divergent from their earlier statements. And this is a pattern that you see again and again and again.
Is your reference to Mr. Sarath Reddy of Aurobindo Pharma, one of the companies that has actually, donated or rather purchased bonds for the BJP, the BRS, and the TDP? And this gentleman, the promoter and director of the company, then turned approver, and in fact, he purchased 5 crores of bonds for the BJP just days after his arrest in November 2022.
I'll correct a few data points. First of all, there are 2-3 key approvers. A gentleman called Dinesh Arora, who also earlier gave some other statements. He was arrested, and then after he turned into approver because of being arrested, he gave a contradictory statement. Then now come to Aurobindo Pharma. I'm glad you brought up this name, because so far BJP and ED have not been able to establish a single rupee of money trail that goes into any Aam Aadmi Party's account or any of their leaders. But Aurobindo Pharma, which was raided under the Delhi liquor scam by the ED, this was on 10th of November 2022. Now, between 10th November 22 and November 2023, it is not 5 crores, it is 35 crores that Aurobindo Pharma has donated to the BJP via electoral bonds. This data has come out only last night. So if there is one political party that has benefited through the companies who participated in Delhi excise policy, it is the BJP. Now, this is an established money trail, but nobody comes knocking on BJP doors. And what we are seeing is a travesty of justice, that without any evidence, this is the first time in history that number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4 leaders of a political party are put behind bars.
Okay.
This has not even begun. The trial has not even begun.
I have to go to Satyapal Jain, but I have one question to you. Why did Arvind Kejriwal ignore 9 summons from the Enforcement Directorate? You can make the point about conflicts of interest thrown up by the bonds, about accused, turning approvers, their testimonies being the bedrock of this case, and I will take those points to Mr. Jain. But very briefly, why did the Chief Minister of Delhi ignore 9 summons from the Enforcement Directorate?
Barkha, this is a very important question. I'm glad you asked it. ED is not the word of God. ED also has to function as per the legal system. It has to operate under the constitution. And if any of your investigative agencies are taking illegal steps, issuing, it is our legal right to challenge those summons. Now, it's very interesting what happens. We challenged Mr. Kejriwal to every summons he responded, challenging the legality of the summons. It was the ED who went to the court saying that, look, Mr. Kejriwal is disobeying our summons. the court has not given the verdict in ED's favor. The matter is sub judice, and ED, rather than waiting for that, so ED doesn't respect court. It did not even wait for court to decide in this matter. It went straight ahead and arrested Mr. Kejriwal. So this actually proves our point that ED has no legal basis for the action. It is a completely illegal action, and only to stop Arvind Kejriwal and India alliance ahead of a crucial Lok Sabha election. This is a model code of conduct. We've never seen not just a sitting CM, but such a senior political leader being arrested in model code of a conduct, when, if they really wanted to do it, they could have done it long back. Why wait till March 2024, days ahead of the first phase of the Lok Sabha election? And it shows that this is nothing and nothing but political conspiracy.
Okay, you've made a number of points, and now I must bring in Satyapal Jain. Mr. Jain, straight to you. You speak today as a senior law officer of the government, but also a BJP leader. So you understand both the law and the politics, right? The point being made here is that there has been no recovery of money. If this is such a big scam, then in all of these raids on Manish Sisodia's house, Sanjay Singh's house, Arvind Kejriwal's house, no money has been found. So what is the basis to make this charge? 2, how do you explain the timing? 3, how do you build a case of a man who was an accused, who's turned a prover, who is subsequently found to have given money in bonds to the BJP along with other parties? Please respond.
Barkaji, please, I'll request my learned colleague also, who very elaborately presented the point of view of his party. Let us understand the basic principle of the criminal law. Whenever any offense is committed, the information goes to the investigating agency. It may be a CBI, it may be police, it may be the PMLA, ED, or any other agency. There are some people who, after the commission of the offense, are suspect. They investigate the matter. The moment they come to know that, no, out of these 4 or 5 suspects, these are the people against whom there is some evidence, they proceed further. Please understand one thing. Nobody is sent to jail either by the CBI or by the ED or by the police. Their job is only to investigate the matter, bring the entire material to the notice of the court, produce the person in the court. It is the court which will analyze the material which has been collected, then come to a conclusion. 3 things. Number 1, whether to send him to judicial custody, or to send him to police custody, or to grant him bail. The job of the investigating agency stops the moment accused, which according to them is an accused, is produced before the court. All this analysis, whether this evidence is sufficient or not sufficient, whether the money has been recovered or not recovered, whether the time is proper or no proper, this has to be appreciated by the court of law. And against the court of law, trial court, PMLA special court, high court, Supreme Court. And in number of cases, while granting bail, interpreting section 45 of the PMLA, I'm talking purely as a lawyer, the Supreme Court has laid down certain conditions. These are the issues on which, basis of which you will take a decision about the granting of the bail or the custody. Number 2, the basic principle of criminal law is any person having any information or knowledge of the offense, or if you are a suspect, even if you are not a suspect, police or investigate agency wants you to cooperate in the investigation, all citizens are supposed to help the investigating agency. You are supposed to go there, tell them whether I am guilty, I am not guilty, or not me, but somebody else is guilty. Give all the information, give all the documents to the agencies. The moment you start saying that, no, I will not join investigation, as a lawyer during the last 44 years, I can tell you in a number of cases where the anticipatory bail was granted or bail was granted, and if you don't join investigation, courts have been saying.
So are you saying? Are you saying?
Just 1 minute. Third, just timing. As per my knowledge, no time has been prescribed in the criminal law as to how days before the election you can't put a trial, how many days you can't arrest or you can't prove a person. And model code of conduct, I have got the full set of model code of conduct with me. I have gone through from A to Z. I have not been able to find out even a single sentence which says any accused, howsoever low or higher he may be, will not be arrested during the model code of conduct. All these money, in a nutshell, I say, now everything is in the hands of the honorable judge. He may grant him bail, he may send him to police custody, he may send him to judicial custodies. ED's job is over.
Okay, so very importantly, 2 points. Jasmine, I know your hands up, but just 1 second. Mr. Jain, your argument is A, this is all done by court. B, the moment an accused refuses to participate or cooperate with the legal process, he opens himself up to arrest. Am I summarizing you correctly?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Jasmine, very briefly, I have to go to Mohandas Pai and Chitranshu. Very briefly, Jasmine.
The matter is being pursued simultaneously by the CBI and the ED. We have fully complied with the CBI. In fact, Mr. Kejriwal in last year, August, he appeared before the CBI, sat for 9 hours and responded to all the questions. The problem is the way the ED has been functioning. It is functioning as a department or a political wing of the BJP, and the actions that it has been taken so far and the selective manner in which it has been avoiding, investigating all the people associated with BJP makes it very clear. Now, if ED was still very sure that its summons were legal, we have the right to challenge any action of an investigative agency, then the court should have ruled in its favor. ED itself went to the court. The court has not said yes or no to ED's argument that our summons is legal, which means that this matter is sub judice. Why doesn't ED does not have faith in the court? What was the need to precipitate action days ahead of the Lok Sabha election when the matter was already being heard in the courts?
Okay, I'll take that back to Mr. Jain. Let me bring in my other two guests. Also, it's important to note that today the Supreme Court has dismissed a petition by the centre that sought the review of a judgment which held that the ED must furnish the grounds of arrest to the accused in writing. This is not specific to the Kejriwal case. This is the general point. The Supreme Court has held that the ED must explain the basis of arrest of an accused in writing. The centre sought a review of this petition. The Supreme Court has dismissed that. Now, Mohandas Pai, the optics. What do the optics look like? Yes, Mr. Jain has said the Model Code of Conduct does not talk about this period, not being open to a possible arrest. But what will be the perception? The perception might well be that suddenly you see an otherwise dispirited opposition kind of coming together. The perception is, the Modi government is either nervous or vindictive. And you've seen the data. I think the Indian Express was the first to report it. We can bring up that slide of how the argument has been made that the Enforcement Directorate has been selectively weaponized. Selectively weaponized. You see the numbers on your screen. It is nobody's case. I'm not an investigator. I don't know if Arvind Kejriwal is innocent. But isn't it curious that the ED is rarely used against BJP leaders? That's the question that the opposition is asking. Mohandas Pai.
Barka, to me, the most important reason is there have been 8 or 9 summons, and this person was sworn to uphold the constitution as the Chief Minister of Delhi, has not appeared before the ED for all those occasions. If he had appeared before the ED and then he has given all the details and cooperated with the law enforcement authorities, which is the duty under the law, being the Chief Minister and a citizen, sympathy would have been on his side. He has evaded all the notices. He has not gone there. And I think just 2 days back, the matter went to court. And I think a court in Delhi said that they're not going to stay any arrest. They asked for some information. The ED went to the court hall and in the court, and in the court there's a term there, and showed all the evidence to the judge. And after that, the judge said we're not going to stay the arrest, and the arrest happened after that. I think if he had only cooperated, the situation should have been different. Public sympathy could have been with him. He could have said there is a wrong person. But you can't evade 9 times, 8 times, and go on abusing people and saying they're all wrong. That's just not done. That is the major point. Now, this data saying...
So you're saying, had he participated or cooperated with the agencies, the public perception today might have been different.
Exactly. Public perception should have been different because, ED has asked him to come once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times. The man played games. And he's the person who's always claimed he's above everybody else, he's the highest honor, he's fighting against corruption. I also gave him some money. I also gave the party some money long back, thinking that he's going to bring about change. The number of people who are disappointed with him is very large because he stood up for probity. He's broken every rule in the bank, rule on the ground in doing all this. I think that's a major problem. And he's gone to court 2 days back. The arrest took place only after that. Now, your statement about 95% being opposition and 50% being UPA, I think is a statement which all of us as citizens should think about very deeply, whether the ED has been vindictive against people in the opposition. That's the real point. I do wish the ED will stop arresting people, stop going against people, complete the charge sheet, go to court and get a decision from the court to indicate the stand that all of them are corrupt and all of them should be charged. Because once you overdo some things like this in a one-sided manner, it raises doubt in the minds of people, which is very, very unfortunate. And I think
So
it's
you
important for. Yeah.
so you're saying you don't have personal sympathies for Kejriwal, but you do
Yes.
believe that the ED's overarching authority that seems to be, or a perception is building that it is selective, is something that the BJP and the government and the ED itself should think about, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. For example, I've seen instances where the ED whispers to some journalists who are their favorite journalists. They write articles about a likely ED action. Then when people ask them and others, they say, no, no, we are going to do this, we're going to do it. Then they start acting. I mean, there have been instances. There have been other instances about something I don't want to talk publicly. But I think they have to correct the perception. To me, the important thing is for investigating agencies, within 6 months, they must finish the investigation, file a charge sheet, go before the court and get a verdict. If they go on delaying and put people in jail for a long period of time, there will be no public sympathy with the ED or the government. I think it's very important for them to clear the air, because as citizens, we should not live in fear that so many people can go after you and it can be interminable. Like somebody said, the fact that a pre-trial you're put in jail for a long period of time and you're harassed is enough to break anybody. And, it is something that should not be done. And that creates a lot of fear. And that is very worrisome for me personally.
Okay, Jasmine, just hold on. Chitranshul's been waiting. I'll come to you and Mr. Jain right after that. Chitranshul, what's the point? Satyapal Jain makes the argument that this is all by court process. In fact, as we are speaking, we are awaiting the judge has reserved the order in the immediate sort of remand trial that was to take place. The Enforcement Directorate has asked for 10 days of custody for Mr. Kejriwal. What's the principle of law at stake here? How do we reconcile this with the Supreme Court also saying that the ED must furnish in writing the reasons for arrest of any accused?
Mr. Shah seems to be outnumbered today, so I'll make points both against and for the motion here. See,
Okay.
as far as Mr. Janis is saying that it's the court which actually arrests, it's actually not the court which arrests. The arrest is actually made by the ED, and the court will then decide whether the arrest is correct or not, and whether the remand is to be made by the police to police custody or judicial custody. So the arrest is in fact made by the ED. Now, going back to the previous point, which both my learned co-panelists were saying, that Mr. Kejriwal evaded summons. See, that is a political stand that he chose to take, that the AAP chose to take, that they are not going to respect ED summons. That is a political stand, but at the same time, they should have taken a legal measure of also challenging the summons or seek quashing of the summons. While that may have gone against Mr. Kejriwal, but the point that has to be seen here is that this arrest of a sitting chief minister has created a very unique and unprecedented constitutional crisis. Why I say so is that the AAP and Mr. Kejriwal have already declared that he'll continue to be the chief minister while he's in jail, while he's in custody. Now, it has to be seen whether, number one, this is possible or not, practically possible or not. Well, I read some reports saying that the jail manuals do not say anything about such a situation because that's never happened. Number two, Mr. Jain also pointed out the model code of conduct about arrests being made during this period. But this is not a simple arrest. This is an arrest of a sitting chief minister. An arrest should have been made in this case only if it was absolutely necessary. Arvind Kejriwal, to me, does not appear to be a flight risk. Arvind Kejriwal, to me, does not appear to be a person who will be influencing witnesses at this time because the original complaint was filed in August of 2022. If something would have been done, it could have been done already. So the ED needed to show how he was a flight risk or he could have influenced witnesses despite the case having been pending for almost 1.5 years, where he's not an accused in the main case. He's not an accused in the CBI FIR. He's being prosecuted now under PML.
Can I ask you something though? You said that there's a possible constitutional crisis. You're not sure that you can have a chief minister from the inside of jail. This is a very important point. I want you to just briefly comment on it, and I'll go to take it to Jasmine and Satyapal Jain. Why do you believe that it raises legal questions?
So, like I said, a chief minister working from inside the jail has never happened. So we don't know whether the current rules of the jails, whether do they even allow it or not, whether would they allow functioning of a government from within a jail. This is unprecedented, like I said. And whether not permitting that would give rise to a constitutional issue because he's elected chief minister. So that is where I say, and whoever I've spoken to have all responded to me by saying, we don't know because this has never happened.